Hello there. One of the most common questions I get is, what do you actually do in cybersecurity? Specifically, what is it like to work in GRC? And I can't show you exactly what I do because then I get fired. And I'm not exactly trying to do that right now. Job market's kind of tough, I'm sure you understand. But I am gonna walk you through a typical day. So my job consists of like 3 major responsibilities that cover governance, risk, and compliance. The main part of my job is I help to manage and implement the cybersecurity program. One of the first things that I do every day is check remediation plans. So whenever there is a security weakness in the system that cannot be remediated in a certain amount of time, we are required to open remediation plans, or POAMs. And these plans are supposed to define what the weakness is and map them to a risk element, also known as a control. And they're supposed to have milestones, which is the M in POAM, which describe the steps that the system administrator, the system owner, or whoever is fixing this weakness is going to take to remediate it. Lastly, it's supposed to have a date for anticipated completion. But in the real world, sometimes remediation doesn't go as planned. And so these remediation dates end up being delayed. And it's my job to figure out what happened, why it's delayed, and what can we do to get you back on track. So that's what I'm about to do right now. Just to give you some insight on things that come up, I was reviewing a remediation plan. And remember how earlier I mentioned that these plans need to have specific things, one of them being milestones that clearly define what needs to be done to remediate the weakness. I was reviewing this remediation plan and I noticed that their milestones had some issues. There are large gaps of time where actions are unaccounted for. They had one milestone specifically that lasted about a year that said something to the effect of routing for signatures and approval, which is definitely a very long time to be routing for approvals. And so in these situations, from like a program administration and maintenance perspective, my concern with this is if this were to be pulled in an audit, they are going to look at these milestones and say, why did it take you a year to route for completion of this weakness? And we need to be able to answer that. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and just ask the ISSO to update these milestones to provide more detail on what actions already occurred and what actions still need to take place to remediate this weakness. Now that I finished checking up on ISSOs, it's time for me to do some ISSO work of my own. I wear multiple hats in my current role, and one of those hats is being an ISSO for a system that's owned and operated by the cybersecurity program. And that sometimes creates a weird little feedback loop, because as someone who helps to run, implement, and maintain the cybersecurity program, I provide guidance to other IT security and IT stakeholders. And so as an ISSO of a system, I'm kind of looking to myself for guidance. Because if I ever have a question about how something should be done, it would be my team that would give the answer. So that is a weird thing sometimes. But anyway, speaking of governance, that's what I'm going to be doing right now. This system in particular needs a lot of documentation created for it, and it has a bunch of documentation that needs to be reviewed. Right now, my main 2 projects are working on a vulnerability management plan and updating and reviewing the business impact assessment. If you look at NIST 853, which is the control standards that I follow, you can pull up the RA family and the SI family. Basically, all the controls in both of these families outline the requirements for risk assessments and ensuring that information maintains its integrity. And I just need to make sure that my system has a procedure that aligns with these controls. NIST is a great resource to start with, especially if you want to get an idea of what controls say and how you apply them, because it is publicly available. You can look it up right now. So anyway, I'm going to start on that. So now I have to take a pause from that stuff for a second and jump into a few meetings. And it actually introduces the next part of my job, which is auditing. I'm an acting audit liaison, which means that I help to manage the organization's IT security audits from an internal perspective. So whenever there is an audit, I, alongside one of my coworkers, we're actually kind of co-inhabiting this position right now. We help to manage the audit interviews with subject matter experts and help collect all the artifacts that the auditors are asking for to prove that we're actually doing what we say we are. And after that, if there are any findings, we help to manage and track remediation of those audit findings. And that is the call I have now. And I typically have this call once a week with this team, so it should be a relatively quick call. Did the installation on the test environment go pretty well? Okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, the continuous monitoring plan should just be a template that you just have to make some minor adjustments to make it system specific. Okay, it is lunchtime. Actually, it is after lunchtime because it's like 2:30 right now. I don't really have anything to eat for lunch right now. It's gonna be like a really random lunch. Actually, I found some salmon, so that's what I'll do for lunch. I just wanted to be realistic, because everyone thinks that working in security or working in tech is just this glamorous lifestyle all the time, but sometimes you have leftover chicken nuggets for lunch, okay? And that's just how it is. And now Aika has woken up from her day-long nap and is ready to join the rest of us. So, you know what that means? That is almost time for me to get off work. Isn't that right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Between lunch and now, a few other things happened that I just didn't choose to film. Just some questions about our GRC tool, which I'm an admin for, so a lot of questions about access or how to use it tend to come to me. And then a few other questions about documentation and compliance requirements that I just felt like didn't need to be filmed. But that's another thing for you to consider though, just getting familiar with a GRC tool. I know Archer is a really popular one. Not saying that's the one that I use, I'm just saying it's a popular one. And it might be worth just getting familiar with it if you can. But now I have about an hour left in my day, so I'm gonna go and finish up some of my ISSO work that I didn't finish earlier. I still gotta finish that vulnerability management plan, and I haven't even taken a look at the BIA yet. And I need to take a look at vulnerabilities on the system and just determine if we might need a remediation plan based on our current patch status. And then also just some general administrative cleanup stuff that I gotta do. So the problem that I'm kind of running into right now on the system is that it's a little bit behind on this patching, and there's many reasons for that I can't really get into. Anyone who works in IT will tell you that vulnerability management is never a straightforward process. There's always things that come up and get in the way. So what I'm trying to determine is if I need to open a remediation plan or a POAM. There are other environmental factors going on right now that would make opening a remediation plan not the most ideal, especially if they can bring the system up to date relatively quickly. So what I really need to do is reach out to the system owner and the system administrators to, one, determine the risk of these patches not being up to date, and then two, how long the system administrators think it will take to get the system up to date, and then we'll kind of determine if a remediation plan is necessary right now. But with that, I still have a few other administrative things that I gotta take care of before I log off. So hopefully this video gave you some realistic insight of what it's like to work in GRC. Not everything in cybersecurity is what you might hear from the more technical roles like a SOC analyst or penetration tester. So if you're interested in cybersecurity, but you don't necessarily want to be the hands-on keyboard technical person, and you prefer looking at security from a strategic and business lens, then GRC might be for you. But thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you give it a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.